Hello everybody, this is Gregory with Permanent Weight Loss Made Easy, where there should be no hesitance in your weight loss and in your weight maintenance. Today we're going to talk about lapsing, relapsing, getting on the wagon, and ultimately what you eat every day doesn't really matter. Now before we begin, if you need help with weight loss, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Also check out my website, which has hundreds of articles and recipes, my 2 books, which you can find on Amazon, my 2 podcasts, The Awakened Man, Confessions of an Obese Child, and we'll throw in this spotter, the Cinema Rag as well, which you can find on Apple and Spotify. Lastly, if you appreciate my content, there is a link for PayPal. Now, what do I mean? It doesn't really matter what you eat. Of course it matters what you eat. If you're constantly eating cakes and donuts and you're drinking sodas and beer all the time, all these empty calories that give you no nutrition, this is going to catch up to you, no doubt. It's going to make you either gain weight or it's going to shorten your life expectancy because it's going to give you all this higher rate of getting diseases. But what I mean is we all know what we need to eat to be healthy. Everybody knows. It's not like some law of physics or something you learn in rocket science school. We all know what we need to eat. Moderate portions, a lot of vegetables, good quality meats, limit the sugars, and so forth. And if you doubt this, think of all the subsequent generations prior to the ones from the 1970s when obesity started to rise. They all ate butter and lard and bread and rice and all these things that are perceived by the purists out there to be bad for us. Generations, if not millennia, were eating these things and they were not overweight. And you could say, yeah, okay, our Paleolithic ancestors, well, they had a scarcity of calories, sure. But even if you look in the last 200-300 years, we didn't really have that problem as a whole, and obesity was not that common. So what were they doing right that we're not doing right? Well, I think a lot of it is we just eat way too many calories. And yes, you could blame the grocery stores. We have an episode here on how big grocery manipulates you. We can blame the big food industries because they try to get the bliss point with all the packaged foods, so you keep eating them. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter. If you have an ordered relationship with food, you could have all these things at the grocery store and walk by them and know, okay, what am I going to eat? A lot of vegetables, good clean meats, and all the things that we've talked about. But we don't do that. There's a massive obesity problem. And so I think of like people who lapse and relapse. Like not that long ago, I did an episode of the Cinema Rag on Philip Seymour Hoffman. And he was a very gifted actor. Many of you know him. And he died in 2014 because of drug and alcohol overdose, like a lot of celebrities do. And it was interesting because he was sober for 23 years. And then he relapsed, and then within 2 years he was dead, and he died from a combination of like amphetamines and benzos and cocaine and all these things. And it just kind of reminded me the same thing about how a lot of people recovering from food addiction, they have a disordered relationship with food. You can have day in, day out, like a good run of eating very well, and you're healthy, you're not drinking the booze, you're sleeping well, you're eating what you need to eat, and then you can relapse. And why do you relapse? Like, why did Philip Seymour Hoffman or Jimi Hendrix or Heath Ledger or all these people, why did they succumb into drugs and then eventually die? It's because they had some sort of childhood trauma. And for them, it was turning to drugs and alcohol instead of, let's say, food. And because of that issue, anytime there was something stressful going on in their life, what would they do? It would trigger them to go to their necessary evil. Now, for people for this channel, it's typically going to be food and maybe alcohol. For other people, it's going to be drugs, alcohol, sex, shopping, porn, whatever it is. But it's the same thing. We don't want to get to that point. We don't want to get to that point where we're always like Sisyphus from Greek mythology, pushing the boulder up and then the boulder is going to fall. Like it's a constant daily struggle to eat well or to not drink alcohol. So how do we get there? How do we get to the point where we're like the dog? We just eat when we're hungry. How do we get to the point where we make that connection? Because we all know objectively what we need to eat to be healthy, but most people can't do it. How do we get there? Well, you can't go back in time to untraumatize yourself from whatever childhood trauma that you had or adolescent trauma you had, that you used food or alcohol or drugs to numb the pain. We can't go back in time, sadly. So what can we do? We got to make lemonade out of lemons. We can't undo the hand of cards that we were given. So we have to go back in time and address this. And if you don't address this, like I've mentioned ad nauseum, it's just going to be yo-yo dieting, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Where you can eat well for a little while, but eventually you're going to succumb and start to eat poorly, drink poorly, whatever. You got to do the deep work. You got to do the deep work where you're not like Philip Seymour Hoffman or these other people who were clean for a long time and then something stressful happened and then they turn to it. We want to get to the point where if something stressful happens to us, we know how to cope with it. And we know that turning back to our demons is only going to put another monkey on our back and it's just going to make things harder. And so all of us have stress in our life. It's just different types of stress. But what we need to do is, instead of looking for the instant gratification, kind of pop a pill, Ozempic kind of method of weight loss, we just need to go and do the deep work. Whether that be therapy, journaling, or a combination of things, and be like, when did I start turning to food to numb the pain or alcohol? And I need to fix it. So I have an ordered relationship with food. So I only eat when I'm hungry. Some people ask, like, how do you wait till 3 o'clock to eat? Well, I'm not hungry even at 3. I just eat at 3 because I don't like to OMAD. We have an episode here on OMADing, 1 meal a day. But you just get to that point where you're not reliant on food as a crutch. And so it's easier said than done. But we don't want to relapse. We want to get to the point where we have an ordered relationship with food. And so when something stressful happens, we don't go back to binge eating. And that's one of the goals of this channel. And please check the back catalog, because by now we have like 300 episodes and a lot of them are related to this. Guys, post in the comments. Let me know if you've had a history where you've eaten well for several years and then you lapse. Or let me know if you've purged your disordered relationship with food. I'd like to hear from you. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.